Hi everybody, my name is Erin Burke and I am your 4311.01 professor for reading development in young children, and I'm meeting with you tonight online. As you can see, I will be discussing several things. I will be going through the syllabus. I'm not going to read it word for word, of course, but I will be going through the highlights of things that you need to know. I also will be going by our class schedule. As you probably are aware, our class is a hybrid class, which means that 50% or more of our class is online. And I don't know if it's 50% exactly, but some of our classes are online and some are in person, and I'll show you how to know when we're meeting in person and when we're meeting like this. And I'll explain to you later why it is that you will be listening to lectures through YouTube rather than Zoom or other platforms. All right, so let's get started. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have been an educator for 27 years, and that's in the public school system. And then I've been working as an adjunct professor here for probably 10 to 15 years. I lose track actually. But I've always taught reading development in young children as well as a few others in the department. But reading is my niche. It's my love. I love to study it. I love to get children to learn to read. It's really one of my very favorite things. So hopefully you can feel through my voice and the way I talk about reading that it is really one of my passions. So tonight, and let me finish telling you a little bit more about, so I was mostly a first grade teacher, and then I had the opportunity to train in reading recovery, which is a regular education year-long training class in which we would work with children one-on-one that struggled, that they were the strugglers, the ones at the very bottom of the grade cohort, and we would work with them one-on-one. It's a program designed to meet children where they are and to build on their strengths and to find out why reading is tricky for them. And sort that out. And so I was so grateful to get that training and really thought it was one of the smartest things that I ever chose to do, because I actually got to do some real teaching. And then about 10 years later, I changed school districts over to the school district where my children went to school and had the opportunity to train as a reading recovery teacher leader, which requires you to do doctoral level work at Texas Women's University. So a little intimidating, but I loved it. They held my feet to the fire, and it's really the best training you could ever have. It was 18 doctoral hours. So a lot of what I learned in reading recovery, I transfer back to the classroom, and everything that we know is good for kids. And so what we will talk about tonight is not only the syllabus, we'll talk about the class schedule, and then we will talk about Chapter 1 of Responsive Literacy. I'll show you the textbook. And then I want to start talking about oral language, because oral language is the basis of everything. It's the basis, it's the bedrock, it's the foundation, it's the cornerstone of everything in reading and writing. In fact, if you can't speak, you can't write. And if you can't hear and you can't talk and you can't articulate, it's very difficult to read. So we'll get started talking about all that right away. But I think what I would like to do right now is to go ahead and let's look at our syllabus. So if you're with me, if you will please, excuse me, I had to make sure I was still filming. I'm kind of new to this. I'm not new to Zoom. This is a little bit different. So let's go ahead and look at your syllabus, which is for you guys in class 2, because class 1 we had a holiday. So we're already behind. So I know that feels really great. So let's look at our syllabus. And you can be looking at it while I'm talking about it. I'll try to lead you through it as best that I know how. All right. So the first thing that I want you to do is to know where you can find me, where you can touch base with me. My office hours, where you can reach me the fastest. So if you'll look there on the very beginning page, you will see my office number, which is 281-283-3521. Or I do actually give out my cell phone number, which is 281-352-0430. And the reason why I do that is because sometimes you need to get a hold of me and an email might take too long and you might need me right away and you might need to text me. But if you do choose to text me, that's fine. But make sure you tell me who you are and what class that you're in. So I teach the sections 431101, which are you guys, and I also teach 431102, which is my other class. So oftentimes we are doing the same things, but you may have a particular question that you need answered quickly. And so what I need for you to do is if you need to text me, go ahead and do that. You're welcome to call me. My office hours are after this class when we meet in person from 12 to 1 or by appointment anytime. We meet on Mondays from 9 to 11:50. Now here's the good news. All of my online classes, for right now, the lectures are done ahead of time. So you actually don't have to get up and be with us right at 9 o'clock. Okay. But when we meet in person, we meet at 9 o'clock to 11:50, and we meet in the Bayou building in room 2230. Okay. So just so you know that. My secretary is Sandy Wyndham. She's wonderful. If you can't get a hold of me, I know she knows how to get a hold of me. So you can read the objectives of the course, of course. I know you can read that yourself. And really, this is an early literacy class. So what we're all about is how do we get kids started with reading, right? How do they come to us with what they come to us with, and how do we get them started? What do they need to have? Now, it's very important for you to have the textbook, and the textbook is called Responsive Literacy, and it is an absolutely wonderful textbook. If I were you guys, I wouldn't sell it back. It is so practical. A lot of the women who have written in a section of that book are reading recovery people who are very knowledgeable in how to get children on their way with reading. Okay, so what are the big assignments in this class? Well, the first thing is you are required to be reading in the textbook. It is fantastic. It's easy reading. It's got beautiful photographs of classrooms. And I ask that you stay with us and that you read ahead of class so that you can always be informed about what we're talking about and be able to discuss. So we have reading responses. There are 10 of them, and they are 3 points apiece. And so that equals 30 points of your grade. Okay? Another piece of the pie is called a literacy case study. And so what you will need to do, starting tonight, is be looking and talking to your friends, your neighbors, your relatives, because you need a child in grades K through 2 in order for you to do a one-on-one case study with. It's called the Observation Survey of Early Literacy Achievement. And it's an excellent way to find out what children bring to the table so that you can begin to find out what it is you need to do next with that child. Now, if you have a child or know a child that is pre-K4 or pre-K5, I will allow that, but I will not allow anyone going over 2nd grade. So find a reader or find a child, find a friend, and get that started right away. I will send you the parental, if it's someone that we need to get parental permission for, we can do that. And we have to do that. Unless it's your child, then we need to get permission. Okay? That is worth 20 points of your grade. All right, and you can see on the 2nd page that that's what that says, or it should say that. Okay, literacy case study. I don't know where the 20 points is, but it is worth 20 points. Oh, there it is. Saw it. Now, the backbone of this course is that you will do field experiences, and you will visit a K through 2 classroom 5 times during this semester. And what I need for you guys to do is to go into the Center for Professional Development of Teachers, click on that link, find the district that you want to do your field experiences in, and then you need to fill out that paperwork and get that process going. It is up to you to get that done. If you cannot get it done, I need to know why you cannot get it done, because they do give you explicit directions on what to do. There are very few schools in which I will need to call to get you settled into a classroom. If you work in a district, go for that. If you have a friend that can help you out and give you a contact at the school you'd like to do, I need to know that, and you can use that, but you must always fill out the paperwork and follow it explicitly. And then I would like for you to let me know immediately, once you get those filled out, what school district you're going to be and what school you'll be. And as soon as you know that, I need you to tell me what teacher you will be with. That will be your mentor teacher. Okay, we're going to go over that again here in a little bit. So the field experiences, the first time you go is simply an observation of the classroom, and for you to introduce yourself to the class, to the kiddos, and for you to kind of get comfortable where you're going to be. And you can read a story to the children for fun if your mentor teacher allows that. And you'll take notes by using the balanced literacy checklist. I'd like for you to jot down how the classroom is set up, because one of the things we talk about is a literacy environment. So we want our classroom environment to be conducive to learning. So 5 field experiences. If that needs to be changed due to COVID or anything like that, don't worry, I'll let you know as soon as possible. Okay? You will also be required to write a final reflection paper that will be 30 points of your grade. Now, the lesson plans that you write, which you will write 4, those are 5 points apiece. If it works out somehow that you did not get your your field experience is done, it clearly states in our syllabus that you cannot pass the class. So don't come to me the last week of school and say, I didn't get my field experiences done. It won't matter. You will get an F. Okay? There should be no reason for that to happen. Your attendance is very important. And my policy is you can miss 2, and I'm not going to say anything, but if you miss 3 or more, your grade will start to suffer. And I will say this, if you turn in work late, I am not apt to grade that very nicely. Okay, so unless you've talked to me about something in your life that is keeping you from turning in a reading response, or something that's going to keep you from, for something being late, there's just absolutely no excuse. Okay? Now, I'm reasonable, and so you can talk to me about that. Now, here's what's cool in my syllabus. I do have in there a class schedule. Okay? I have it in 2 places, and so I'm going to show you again where that is. But you can see that class number 1 was a holiday, but I still wrote it out as if we were having class, even though we're not having class, so that we could keep up with where we were. Okay, so it just goes through class 1, class 2, class 3. It goes over some things that we are studying, and it will also tell you when things are due. Okay, so take a look at that. It also tells you if class is in person. It should, or not. But let's keep going, because the class schedule is really what's going to help us. All right, so I talked to you about late work, and I do have the right as a professor to change the syllabus if need be. Now, I usually don't. I can't even imagine why that would be. At the top of page 10, I'd like for you to look at the grading system. I don't think this is anything new. 93 to 100 is an A, and so on. Okay. My office hours are going to be on Mondays from 12 to 1. There's my cell phone. If you're going to come, or come at a different time, I'd sure like an appointment, because oftentimes I'm not at the school. I'm an adjunct, so I don't keep all day hours. The office location right there is wrong. It's really Bayou B1111. It's at the very end of the hall, across from the bookstore. It's just down in that corner. Okay. So you can see on my syllabus, if you look on page 11, you'll see the pre-K guidelines. Anything you need to know about field experiences are right there, and we will discuss that a lot more. Anything you need to know about the English language proficiency standards, and Latin task stream, your final reflection paper, and your field experience profile will need to go up on Lat task stream at the end of the semester. And so write down any questions you have for me and send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer them. But that's the course in general. Okay, that's the course in general. Now, the next thing I would like to show you is right under that in class number 2. It says ECED 4311.01 class schedule. So if you will open that up. This will give you a nice feel for how the class is going to go. It gives you the class date, which of course class number 1 was on January 17th, but of course we didn't have class. I just to keep myself straight, I put that in there, but it was a holiday. And we'll go over everything that you needed for class 1 in this class. Now, if it's shaded in gray, that means it's an online class. And so when you go into the folder on that date, you will see my lecture. You will see all the other things that you need to be reading and watching. There will be videos. And all of that will go there. I am not finished putting in the work due, but we will work on that. But the best thing about this is it lets you know if it's in gray, then we're online. And if it's in white, we're in person in room Bayou 2230. Okay? So it tells you what class number, what's the date, and whether or not we're in person or online. Okay? When you look at it like that, it looks very, very short. Okay. So here we are. I'm back thinking about what we need to be talking about tonight. And the first thing is that I do want to mention to you is there must not be any tardiness on getting your paperwork done to get into a classroom. It cannot be the same classroom that you're doing another one in. I found that out last semester. It just doesn't work. So, starting tonight, go on, and you can, I just put in the search bar up at the top of the website of U of H Clear Lake, I put the Center for Teacher Professional Development, CTPD, I think it is. And you go there and then you look for field experiences, and then you will see a list. You will see a list of school districts. Choose the school district. Now, some of them due to COVID have decided we're not doing this. And in fact, last semester, there were several that just said, mm-mm. And so we had to make some accommodations there. I think we're kind of back to normal, I hope and pray. I mean, every day's a different day in the news, but tonight I'm going forth as if everything's normal. Look beside it and see if they are accepting applications. If they're not, just move on. We've tried that. We've tried to do it, around and about, and they're not having it. So you'll get online, do what they ask, and get it filled out, and let me know as soon as you know where you'll be. Okay, and because I have to turn in paperwork myself of who is going where. Okay. So the topic tonight is oral language. And how do we learn language? And the thing is, oral language, we're all English language learners, or we were as children, certainly. You will have English language learners in your classroom. But the truth of the matter is, all children learn language the same way, whether it's their first language or their second language. And oftentimes, when you think about oral language, it's the bedrock of it's the bedrock of becoming literate human beings. We want children to, everything we do in the classroom through read-alouds and shared reading and guided reading and independent reading and talking about reading and writing about reading and actually writing is meant to expand oral language. So like when we're reading stories to children, that puts them in a place where they're actually hearing beautiful book language they don't hear at home, language you and I don't speak. Book language is a certain kind of language. They hear vocabulary. It brings up new vocabulary. You talk about new vocabulary. So that adds to their oral language. If you're doing interactive read aloud with accountable talk, which is one of your lesson plans, and I'm going to teach you how to do it, Read aloud with accountable talk, it has you modeling a thinking strategy, but it also has children responding to the text with a partner and articulating to that partner what they understand. And that also expands their oral language. Children come to us sometimes not even knowing how to have a conversation, much less talking to another child about a book. But we want to teach them how to do that. Because conversations around a shared experience helps expand our oral language. So oral language undergirds everything that we do in the classroom. And if I ever, I know there are very, very busy classrooms out there. And what I want to say about that is that can be a good thing. But if a classroom or a teacher is too busy to read to children, then she doesn't need to be in the classroom. Because building and expanding on children's language is part and parcel of being a good teacher. Okay, so never tell someone that you don't have time to read to kids. Okay, on top of that, they love it. And you probably remember a time when you were listening to your teacher read to you. And it was a happy experience. And then when they get to talk to each other about books that they love, it's a happy time. And it does expand their language. So those are shared experiences that they can talk about. Okay? So one of the things that I'm wanting you to do is to read the Hickman Davis article. And I want you to read that article, and I keep giving out that same article because it is so straightforward in what we need to understand about how children who come to our classrooms who cannot speak our language or very little of our language. And what we find in this day and age is that we will always have children. Well, I'm not going to say always. That's kind of a broad statement. But very rarely will you have a class full of children who are fully English learners. You more than likely will always have a child who's learning the language. And so it's best that we know how to handle these children. And it's best that we know how they're going to take on the language. They're little sponges, and so they will take it on. But we must be able to help them. So one of the things that we notice that children go through if they're sitting in our classrooms and they can't speak our language is that they go through a nonverbal period. Just like a baby, babies go through nonverbal times. And then they begin to use some speech, but they don't understand everything that you're asking them to do. And so what a teacher should do is that if she's asking boys and girls to put crayons away, she might need to pick up a box of crayons and put them in a box and talk about it while she's doing it. So we need to make demonstrations for them so that they can take on, the language of the classroom. So that's one way we can help them. The other thing that we can do for children is give them some wait time. Sometimes, when you're processing a new language, you're not going to be able to respond right away. And so it's important that we allow some wait time for those kids, but it's also important for us to give wait time to all kids, okay? So there's a lot of things that are the same. Now, what begins to happen, and this is true for babies as well as people who are children who are new to our language, is it's got to be a meaningful negotiation of meaning. And what I mean by that is everything that they say and we say to them has to be like in a dialogue, because you're trying to negotiate meaning together. That's why it's not very profitable to to put a child in front of a television. In fact, I've tried it because I tried to learn Spanish listening to or watching Spanish soap operas. I no more can speak Spanish than the man in the moon that way. But if I had a dialogue with someone and I started to put meaningful words together with actions and gestures, then I can begin to speak it. Another thing that's very, very important is that we understand that just because they are silent for a lot of the time, I think children can be very, very misunderstood. And that misunderstanding is that they just sit there and they take it all in, but there's no verbal things going on. And I think oftentimes, and I think it's happened in the past, that the misunderstanding was that the children weren't following directions or didn't want to cooperate, thus and so. Not true. Children want to cooperate, and children want to be heard, and they want to speak, and they want to, be involved with the classroom just like everyone else does. The article also discusses, and I know I'm not covering it in full, and so I need you to read it. But what I do want you to know is that it's very important for parents of children who are learning the language of English, for them to feel wanted and welcomed into the school. Parents want their children to do well, and oftentimes they think that putting them in a classroom and not dual language or lots of other things, just letting them sink or swim, is a good thing, and it can be a good thing. A lot of children have done it. But we want to make them welcome in the school, and many of them don't feel welcome in our schools because, maybe they don't speak any English, and they just feel embarrassed, or they just don't want to, they know that there might not be anybody there to interpret for them. So it's very important that you have some go-to person, some liaison to go to that can sit with you with parents and make them feel welcome into your classroom. And then you can explain where the child is in their learning as far as their English. So that's an important part of the article. The best part of the article is really about how a child progresses, because you will see in a video you will watch later is that children, it's learning language is a process, like learning to write is a process, learning to read is a process. And so after a while they begin to make noises or gestures or one word. They're able to respond with one word and then later two words. And what you do is you speak back. So for example, let me just do it's a real rudimentary example. But for example, let's just use a little baby, for example. And a baby is standing in the kitchen and sees some juice on the counter and says, and points, okay? And the mother might say, "Oh, Sissy wants some juice," and you hand the child the juice. So there was some negotiation of meaning. The child tried to make sense, and the parent came back and put words to that context. Later, maybe the baby says, "Juice." And of course, the parent comes back and says, "Oh, you'd like some juice. Here you go." And then it progresses from there, where the child might say, "Me want juice." So, "Oh, great. Here, you can have some juice." And so on. And finally, after they've heard you say it and they've tried it, that you will see, finally, the child might be able to say, "I want some juice." But it didn't happen right away. It was a process, and it was a negotiation of meaning between the two dialogues, okay? And it's no different in the classroom. Okay, so any help you can give that student to repeat it back, like one of the things the article will tell you is that you might need to repeat directions several times. So they hear it, they're not quite sure what you said, and so you say it again, and maybe you even say it again with more gestures or showing them with something. That all aids a child's oral language. Now I'm going to end about this article. I'm going to end with the idea that a quiet classroom is not always a good thing. Now I don't mean when you ask children to zip lips because you are talking. That's one thing. But if you are truly learning and you're allowing children to explore or to have conversation around a book or share their writing, they should be excited and talking to each other. It's purposeful talk. It's not just, talk about anything you want to. It's purposeful. It's around shared events like shared reading. It's around maybe the funny character in the book and why they thought it was funny and telling their neighbor, or even writing about that funny character. So we must let oral language grow in our classrooms, and we have to understand how children take language on and how English language learners take language on. One of the things I need for you to do tonight, as you look in class folder number 2, is to watch the video on how children learn language. It's a super important video. So I hope you'll watch that. In closing, this part of our class, I'd like to say that I welcome you. I'm very excited to be teaching you this semester. I will be telling you some really cool things that are happening in my professional life that I can't wait to work with some English language learners this semester. We are going to be talking about Brian Camborne's Conditions of Learning. And I'm working with a lady out in San Diego who has written another book about Camborne's Conditions of Learning with Brian Camborne and these English language learners. And we're going to watch lots of her videos. They are fantastic. I think you'll get lots out of it. So let's recap. Number 1, you have the syllabus. It gives you everything you need to know about the class. There is the class schedule, which lets you know whether or not we are in person or whether we are online. And in this case, we're online. And right now I'm in San Diego doing something. Okay. So the next thing is you need to understand that it is vital that you go to the Center for Teacher Professional Development on the U of H website, that you find your school district that you'd like to do your 5 field experiences in, and that you get the paperwork done, and you please send me the name of the district you want, and if you know the teacher right away, let me know who that is, and I will give you further directions on that when I see you February 7th. We'll be in person and we will talk, we will talk about all of that. And then the next thing you need to be working on before next class is that you need to find a child. What child? A child. Anywhere from K to 2. Grades K to 2, but I will allow pre-K 4, pre-K 5. I will not allow anything above 2nd grade. And the reason why I say that is the observation survey which is the testing you'll be doing. It was written for classroom teachers, and it was written for kids up to age 8. And it's not super helpful after that. It won't give you any information, and it won't be helpful to you as a teacher. I hope that everything that I show you in this class is definitely helpful to you. It's not worth your time. As you know, teachers are busy, and we're going to learn to think on our feet a little bit, and we're going to learn how to design a comprehensive literacy framework that works for kids. And you might have heard it said you might have heard it talked about as balanced literacy. You might have heard about it as a comprehensive literacy framework. You might have heard about it as gradual release theory. You might have heard about it in lots of other ways. It's kind of morphed into things that it's not supposed to, which has led to, there's kind of a thing out there now called the science of reading, and we will talk about that as well. The only thing that means is we in balanced literacy know that it's important that children learn to read by real reading, and they learn to write by real writing. But that doesn't mean that phonics and spelling and word study are not important. We know they are. And we'll talk about phonological awareness in this class, and we'll talk about all those things that build a reader and build a lifelong reader, not just a test taker. So, all right, so number 1, be familiar with the syllabus, be familiar with the class schedule. Tonight, please go to the Center of Teacher Professional Development, go to field experiences, find the school district you want, fill in the papers they are asking. Number 4, get a student ready to go. Now, you don't start with that student yet because I haven't taught you anything to do with that child, but get them set up. Okay? I will forward you the parental permission, and I will also forward you a mentor evaluation. Your teacher that you work with this semester will need to fill out a mentor evaluation, and I will also give you an information sheet that you can give her so she knows exactly what is expected of you. Okay? So lots of things to think about tonight, which is why I'm going to cut this just a tad short. You do have a reader response in this class folder, so if you will take a look at that, get that turned in, I would appreciate it. And don't forget, you have my cell phone, you have my email, and you have a million ways to get a hold of me if you need me in the meantime. Okay, so welcome to class. Be ready for a tough semester, but a good semester that will help get you ready to be in the classroom and be able to teach reading. Okay, and I thank you for your attention tonight, and let's go.